Okay, so before we get into the actual content, I just want to hear from the team, like what are the challenges that you face when you are doing documentation, right? As a team or as a management perspective, or probably from the reporting aspect. I would like to hear from you, what are the challenges that you guys face most of the time? Apart from developing the content, what are the challenges, or probably you feel like there is a scope for things to be automated? Have you ever thought of something that you feel like, okay, this is something like I really don't want to do it, let it be automated so that it helps me to save time? Any thoughts? I don't think that can be replaced. That's number one. So I think, that's good one to get started. But most of the time you feel like, tracking. You have to make sure if it's only one or two features or probably one or two manuals, it might be easy for you to track. But let's assume you're handling a lot of documents. For us, right, in KLA, it's a semiconductor company, we handle a lot of huge tools, which means like we handle hundreds of tools, right? And each of the tools will have several configurations, and each configuration will support like hundreds of documents. How can this be tracked? Even if you are really a super brain person, it's very hard for you to say where they are with regard to specific set of documents, right? So that's one aspect to it. And at times somebody asks you for the status of the documents, where you are. So how will you give? So what needs to be done is you may have to go to the tracker or Excel sheet where you are following all these information, right? So all these things needs to be done manually. Of course, to some extent you guys might be using some macros to automate the dashboard and rest of things, right? But at a high level, how do you ensure that it's easy process, right? So we really, from KLA, we also got into a situation where we have dealing with a lot of documents, and how can we make sure it's being tracked from start to finish, and at any point of time you have the visibility to the documentation or the project status for both for the stakeholders and also for the tech writers, right? So we got into that situation. That's when we felt we should have a system in place. That's how we got into information change request process, right? So I think these were the challenges that I brought it up, and I think we discussed about this enough. And let's see what is this information change request, right? So this is a centralized automated system through which we will be able to track the creation or new document or revising an existing document. Everything can be done using this system, which is nothing but a formal ticketing system, which helps you to track the status of the documents from start to finish, right? So this is what we have implemented. So how it's being used in our company is what I'm going to show in the next slide, right? Information change request is like who can submit, right? Who can submit this request is any field personnel. Whoever is accessing the document from our customer portal, they will be able to submit the ticket. And what happens after that, right? Like once you submit it, what happens to it is each ICR gets a unique part number. You have a tracking mechanism through which you will know for this document a specific change. This is the ICR number associated to it. So that way, at any point of time, you will know there are n number of ICRs has been created to make changes in the existing documents, or probably you have to create new documents, right? And as soon as it's been created, an email notification is sent to the submitter. Let's assume I am the person from the field. When I'm trying to fix a tool at the fab, and I'm encountering some problem, but still I feel like I may not have the information, but still I'll say this document is not clear for me to execute this procedure. I can submit an ICR. Then this request goes to the respective technical writing team and also comes to the submitter, being me the submitter, right? So that way I will know, okay, this is the request I created and somebody is going to take an action. This automatically goes to a assignment group where writers are involved. Several products have several list of several writers associated with each of these products, and they will receive this ICR, and then it's being validated by the team members, which means like the writers. So what happens after validation, right? Then it goes, the actions taken by the writer would be, they will take the document, update as and when required, what kind of changes. Sometimes it might be straightforward, you yourself will be able to do it, or sometimes you may have to interact with the SME to get additional information, and then probably you go back and update your document. Then it goes through the standard review and approval process through our system. Of course, we have a portal through which the document is being sent out for review and approval. And after renewal and approval is completed, then it's getting published to the customer portal, right? So this is the standard process of any of the. This shows the complete life cycle of the document from start to finish. But in between, it sounds so simple that you take the document, update it, and send it out for review and approval and publish it. But it would take a lot of time. You're handling a bunch of documents, right? So that's when we have this tracking system which says like where we are with each of these ICRs, right? It could be in any one of these states. So that way you will be able to explicitly say where this document stands and who is accountable, right? That's very important. Sometimes, all the time they come back and tell it's with the writer. May not be true because you might be waiting for a fix. So that can be captured in any one of these states, right? Next, moving to the workflow. So what happens here, right? This is our web portal where the documents would be available, and you have a feedback icon. You will click onto it, and a feedback form appears like this. And here, if there are anything related to safety, right? We consider that as a high priority. So we make sure we select that safety, and also we put in the requirements of what needs to be updated and why. And if there are any red lines that it's available with you, you can attach that, and then you can submit it. So what happens after that? You get a email notification, and with that you can make sure you don't miss the feedback, right? It's always tracked. You get it through your inbox, and it's been assigned to you. Yeah. So this is how the ICR is being generated, and you have a unique tracking ID which I mentioned, and the person who has created, and from where this person has created, and what category. Everything is automatically populated. So the advantage for you is from this, if you know this is very critical request and it has come from a specific region, you can really prioritize that. And also by default it comes as P3. Definitely when you're submitting, you can change it to P1 as well. And through this mechanism, through this report, you will get all the information, whether it is like a new program or is it a legacy program that you're supporting. Based on the available information from the backend, it pulls up and it's all being available here, right? So that way, the only action expected from the writer would be just go and update the status. That's the only action expected out of the writer. So that way, the ICRs are completely tracked, and the status of each of the documents would be available to the stakeholders at any point of time. Yeah. So the advantage that I want to bring it up here is, right? You can see this. So from this ICR report, we are pulling this into an Excel sheet from which you can create a dashboard, as I mentioned in the beginning, right? So you get a chart something like representing like this, which shows how many ICRs has been completed by a writer in a period of month or probably however your company looks for. You can make it as a quarterly chart or weekly chart. You can get that details and how many has been completed and what complexity of the document is involved in that. If you look into this scenario, right, where you're seeing the number of ICRs has been completed by one individual is kind of low. But again, if you see the complexity of the document that this person has done, this clearly indicates that, it's double the time. Even though if you see somebody has done really high, but the complexity of the work that this person has done is definitely enormous. It took a lot of time, probably several iterations. So even for, I would definitely say when you're writing your reviews, performance reviews, and I know video reviews, by the time you really have to rethink and say why it went down, you may have to refer your notes. All this is not required, I would say. Definitely you look at this, you get this information. So no justification needs to be given from both ends, like either from your side or from your managed side. It's explicitly shown. So similarly, we are pulling up several metrics from this report, which helps the management to understand what is the volume of work done by the writers and what is the future roadmap, right? Here I have just given one snapshot of the completion of the documents. But whereas we also look for the futuristic data, right? By using this ICRs, for example, if we are having a new set of project coming up and for which we have to generate 100 documents, for example, let's assume, right? Then through this system, we will have this ICRs being pulled up so that we can show the forecast also. So that way it helps even, I would say, not only to the management, also to the writers. You will know for how long I can be supporting this project, and you can also go and have a discussion with your manager, say, hey, I see that based on this roadmap, I can work only till for another 6 months, or probably you can say I'm kind of overloaded. So those kind of discussions can happen through these reports. Okay? Yeah. So I would like to reiterate the benefits from this system, right? As you could see, since this is automatically being generated and you can pull the report at any point of time, the errors are less, so less number of inconsistency in the report that's been generated, and obviously it's integrated with Snow, so at any point of time you get the real-time data, and traceability. As I brought it up earlier, always it's being put it on the writer's responsibility, saying like, the log is held up with the writers. And only when you dig into the details, you come to know they're waiting for inputs, or probably it got stuck with SMEs for certain reasons, right? Those will not be shown at all, but this report helps or enable visibility to e-management and also for the stakeholders to understand where the document got stuck, and that way we can enable them to have ownership and accountability for the documents that they have already signed up for, right? And cross-functional collaboration. So this document is in a customer portal that's been accessed by several stakeholders, not only from specific one domain, right? You have a lot of stakeholders using these documents, so definitely you get different perspectives that helps us to improve the quality of the documentation. So ICRs also helps in enhancing the quality of the document through the cross-functional collaboration opportunity. And as you know, Snow is like a very standard application that will help us to include a number of users, right? It's not like the scalability is there. You can definitely expand this to other departments. So I would really like to mention here, we are primarily started with documentation and illustration, and after that we also got it into the augmented reality, where we are able to implement the same logic what we are using through ICRs, that process we developed, and they also started adopting this feature. And we are also ensuring that we are reusing it for the opportunity for the documentation team as well. How is like we have introduced the parent-child concept of if the same content is being used by any other groups, not necessarily it has to be documentation, right? We are trying to connect. So that way we will review similar feedbacks and see whether this can be implemented for documentation. There could be scenarios where it may not be applicable, but still we get that notification, we are able to review that, which enables to make sure that we are increasing the quality of documentation and also helping other departments to implement the same feature that we have. So, what is the action that I would expect from you or from this group is, of course, you might be following certain mechanisms that would be helping you all for sure, but just go and revisit and see is there an opportunity for you to do in a different way, or probably adopt this process, this method. That way you will have all the information real time and also less involvement from the writers or from the managers to get the data and present it to the management. I think that's all I have for today. Any questions? Yes.
How is this different from the regular Jira? Most of our development teams use Jira.
Correct. It is almost similar, but the advantage of having this is like we have this integrated into our system where we have the CMS, right? So this information can be updated there and we can pull a report from there as well. Of course, it's similar to that. We can definitely track this, but the advantage is we have it integrated within the small, as I mentioned, like we have illustrations and we have AR. There also we are integrating, trying to have it integrated with the in-house as well. Yes, please.
So, apart from Jira, we
also use Kanban board, right?
Mm-hmm.
So where we have stories and we assign story points, like this document is going to take 2 hours or this document is going to take 5 hours.
Right.
So is there any feature like that over here as well?
Yeah, actually when I was presenting, you were able to see a screenshot, right, where we can enter the number of hours that's being put in. That's one option. But when we are creating the doc plan, right, within our organization, we have an option to put in the number of hours. This can be included as part of this today. That's what we are trying to map with the complexity, the graph I mentioned, right, where you see the number of ICRs is less, but the complexity is high because that's taking a lot of time. So we are mapping that, excuse me, that is being mapped with the complexities of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you say it's 1, then you would have taken like 0.5 to 1 day. So we have an internal mapping that includes the number of hours. Instead of number of hours, we capture it as like the complexity, which in turn indicates the number of days being involved in the development of document.
And so we always know that we reuse the content, right? And we're seeing this number of ICRs getting submitted. So is there any way that we can track down the similar, you said there's a way, right? We can track down the similar kind of ICRs and we can use that for review mechanism and also use the content as well, like similar kind of content?
I mean, this is pretty much on the change request, right? Like what is missing in the document, what can be added, or what is incorrect, right? That is how we are doing it. So probably if this is a similar version of document, as long as you're a subject matter expert and you're confident this change is also applicable for the previous version, definitely you can cross-check with the SME and create an ICR and get that done.
More questions?
Any more questions? Feel free.
Actually, through your presentation, I like the fact that it is possible to track the document. If we are waiting for input from the development team, because that is one part where though we complete our work or there is no tracking of whether we are waiting for their inputs or
It's always on the writer's bucket.
yeah, until unless the manager comes and says why
Yes.
why do you have so many in your doc?
Yes, and this really works when you have to be a big team, right? You need not go and bother each of the individuals. You can always pick up from the and it's vice versa too. It helps the writers as well.
Right. So it is all about data analytics.
Correct.
So I just wanted to understand like what tool do you use to adopt this process?
So actually, from Snow we pull this report and get it into an Excel, and through that we are having several macros and get this dashboard internally, and definitely this can be part of the Power BI and we can definitely this can be developed through Power BI and it can be more efficient.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Any more
No more
questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was fine, no?
Thank you, Latha.
People at the back couldn't see the full
So
slide.
our next
Down
session
below it
is
was.
how to tame a hydra.
Can you-
Sort of. One minute. Hold on.
And we have time. We're just going to make that announcement of content stack, Puneet. Okay, wait a second.